Hi, I'm Dr. Meredith Bagley. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Communication Studies. And Amber Scales is a voice of UA. She is also a scholar of voices at UA. Those we hear often, those we don't, through past, present, and future times. I met her through my work doing alternative campus tours, and she has been a co-conspirator for several years now. I'm very impressed with where she'll go next. I'm excited to hear her talk tonight. Her experience brings together her topic through the roles she's held on campus between her double majors of PR and theater, her work at SGA and honor societies, and her future work on the stage. So please welcome Amber Scales.
Hey Eric, how are y'all? Good. Well, like Dr. Bagley so kindly mentioned, thank you for that. My name is Amber Scales, and my revolutionary idea is pretty simple, that accurately discussing the past enhances our present communities. A little bit about me. So I'm a senior from Johns Creek, Georgia. I double major in public relations and theater, have a minor in political science, and I consider myself an actor, an activist, and an AKA. Find it in my Instagram bio, amber.scales. Maybe I'll follow you back. Now, the work I do on campus brings those identities together, but not always in ways that make sense. My work in SGA focuses on diversity, equity, and inclusion, amplifying voices of marginalized communities and people that we don't often hear stories about. My work on stage doesn't often get to fit that. This is me playing Catherine in Love's Labor's Lost at the Colorado Shakespeare Festival, a role that is definitely not supposed to be played by a black woman, but who cares? It's fucking Shakespeare, he's dead, right? Do whatever you want. To the right, you're seeing me in one of my most prominent roles as a member of Capstone Men and Women, the official ambassadors here at the University of Alabama. Some of my dearest friends, but also one of my biggest challenges. In my reflection of my 4 years here at the Capstone and all the different voices I use each day in interacting with administrators, fellow students, and prospective campus visitors or students, I couldn't really figure it all out. But in my work with Dr. Bagley and in our research we were doing together in the Honors College, she told me she wanted me to find a voice that was really my own. Not Amber on tour, not Amber on stage, but Amber, which when you boil it down, is kind of hard to do when you're not quite sure who your audience is. So I talked to myself and for myself, and I wrote this poem. I want y'all to give it a listen. It's called Hey Y'all. Hey y'all, welcome to the University of Alabama. My name is Amber Scales. Stop. An introduction. Hi, I'm just like you. Have a question? Great, you know my name. Now you can ask it. Want to know my story? You've probably heard one just like it. You probably haven't heard one just like it. You know, we won't talk about it at all. Let's focus on campus. That's what you're here to see. I'll tell you all about it. You know, the way we work as a university, the way we want you to see it. Not we as in me, we as in the university, as in the board of trustees. I don't know how we got here. Again, hey y'all, welcome to the University of Alabama. My name is Amber Scales. I'm a senior here at the Capstone. Stop. Senior. It implies that because I've been here for 4 years, you should trust me. That maybe these people taught me something, that after 4 years of walking over the bones of my ancestors, maybe I learned a thing or two. And maybe I had, but do you want to hear about it? Probably not. After prodding through core curriculum classes to upper division courses, what I've learned is quite scary. But I digress. Again, hey y'all, welcome to the University of Alabama. My name is Amber Scales. I'm a senior here at the Capstone. Stop. Capstone. A term meaning the top, the crowning jewel, the pinnacle, the highest point on Denny chimes. The bottom and top are Alabama limestone. All through the middle is Virginia red brick. But aren't people also at the top when they are lynched? Hanging from trees and above a crowd, how can you create change if you are above it all and not in it? Allowed to do menial work, but only so it can go on your resume. Maybe we'll use your photo in the pamphlet. But I digress. Again. Hey y'all, welcome to the University of Alabama. My name is Amber Scales. I'm a senior here at the Capstone from Johns Creek, Georgia. Stop, Georgia. It's just like Alabama, right? Shouldn't have been too different. I saw a woman named Stacey Abrams won a beautiful, brilliant campaign. She was a Harvard grad against UGA agriculture. His campaign was a well-oiled machine. Let's call it the cotton gin. He wasn't from UA, the machine won all the same. How can you be allowed to be in charge of elections you run in? How can a minority, who's not a minority, just a smaller section of the unspoken majority, you know, the good old boys, we see them here in frat houses? But I digress. Hey y'all, welcome to the University of Alabama. My name is Amber Scales. I'm a senior here at the Capstone from Johns Creek, Georgia, double majoring in public relations and theater. How do I unpack any of that? That I walk to class past Klansmen and eugenicists, that I walk into an office in a building named for a man who never wanted us to come here. Us as in brothers and sisters, not as in fraternity, as in black. Is it loud enough for the people in the back? Black? Black as in scholars, as in student union, as in faculty and staff association, as in first dean of students and second SGA president. Well, I guess make that 3. I digress. But isn't that the truth? And shouldn't it be easier to see? Thank you. So that was a way for me to process the duality of man, as in me. What is it like to put on a red dress and a red pantsuit and be the same person all at once? What I do as a Capstone woman is a system of orientation. Now, we all know orientation. Bama bound, right? Got some Avantis in the room. See a couple of faces. Orientation systems are perpetuated by institutions. They're a way for us to get to know the people around us, to get to know structures. What buildings do I walk into? What are dining dollars? How in the world do I get tickets to football games? Things that the average student needs to know. But because they are from institutions and by institutions, they are narratives that are specifically constructed. Now, I study public relations at one of the best programs in the nation, if you didn't know, and we are told one thing constantly: protect your brand. Now, if I was the University of Alabama, would I want to talk about narratives that, albeit are true, but don't paint me in the best light? Especially on a bus full of prospective students, some of which have never been to the state of Alabama before, and many of which, if you said the truth, would probably never want to come again. It's a hard question. Now, am I asking for the daily traumas of average students to be set on tour? Maybe. But what I really want is for the stories we tell as an institution to be accurate, holistic, to paint students in a light that you can see yourself every day, and to not sell dreams and fairy tales of a perfect institution with no problems and definitely not a secret society running everything. I know, I've never heard of one, have y'all? Now, all of this contributes to what we call public memory. Public memory is the way that you know about things that happened maybe before you were born. It's the way that we of a nation have constructed things like 9/11. An instance that most of us were not old enough to remember ourselves. We didn't watch it happen on TV, but we know the exact feelings of the moment. We know the exact pace of the day. We all take time as a nation to stop and remember. Why don't those systems happen for us as an institution and dates that are equally as important? Why do I, as a Capstone woman, say General Croxton on April 4th, 1865, came with his Union troops and burned down campus? Woo! But who knows the date that Arthur and Lucy tried to desegregate campus? Not many of us. Now, that's because our narratives are often skewed to paint our institutions in a more favorable light. That's because they, as an institution, are trying to make money. It all makes sense, but what kind of community does it paint for us? Now, we can take systems of orientation and make them systems of disorientation. We can examine the narratives that our institution tells us and disrupt them. Not saying that they aren't true, but say that there are other stories that we should be telling at the same time or with louder voices. And this, in the same way, contributes to public memory. It lets us all know who Arthur and Lucy is. It lets us know who Vivian Malone and James Hood are, and it lets our narratives become loud enough and impactful enough to change what we as an institution and as a campus think about communities, the way we think about important people and important spaces. And it allows marginalized people to not be forgotten heroes, but instead to be at the forefront of what our campus can do to better the state of Alabama. Now, this work is already being done by a lot of incredible professors and students here on campus, one of which being Dr. Hillary Green. Now, I hope some of y'all already know who she is, but she gives the hallowed ground tours here on campus. For those of you who aren't aware, the University of Alabama as an institution and its individual university presidents during the Reconstruction and Civil War eras owned slaves. Now that means that the University of Alabama, as an institution, owned enslaved people, rented them out, sometimes leased them to other people. But we as a campus are responsible for that. But somehow it's a story that never gets told. Even though it's ugly and it's painful for a lot of marginalized bodies, it doesn't make it any less true. But it does impact every day the way brown bodies exist on this campus, the way other people feel empowered to treat us, and the spaces that we feel most comfortable in. The places that we, like Koki said, get to call home, and the place like Norris has had, we get to engage in meaningful conversations about what it means to be a brown body or a person of color at the university. This work's also being done by Dr. Meredith Bagley, who gives the tour about Autherine Lucy, an often forgotten hero. Now, this work is important, but it doesn't always have to come from professors. A lot of this has to come from us, students to students, doing the work to uncover what the stories we're being told are and tell everyone in our individual spheres whether they're true or untrue, to look around our spaces and see if there are faces that are missing and stories that are not being heard. Now, we can do this by taking action. Your first step is to let go of the narrative you have been told, to get rid of half-truths that have been sold to you as dreams, and to really think, what has my experience been, and what has been the experience of other people? After you get to other people, the people who are maybe in your social circle, go past that. Go to marginalized communities on campus where you can see them and where you can't. Think about where they have spaces to be themselves. Think about the stories of theirs that you see promoted by the university. Ask yourself, if me and Royce and Jasmine are the only black people you've ever seen on the University of Alabama's Instagram, are we doing a good enough job? Probably not. The second thing you can do is engage in open dialogue. Have hard conversations that include hard truths, that maybe we're failing, that maybe there's more we can be doing and stories we aren't telling purposefully, not just by accident, and force your peers in your institution to do more and to do better. And lastly is to encourage disorientation. It's uncomfortable to hear that kind of information. It's hard to, at one hand, say, roll tide, can y'all believe Saban's throwing away his walker? What a dude. And on the second hand, say that my campus isn't doing enough. Those can exist in the same person. Love your campus enough to want it to be better. The last thing this does is it leaves a legacy. It allows new narratives to come to the forefront of our campus. It allows people who have never before had the opportunity to have their story told to take center stage and have a spotlight on their experience, negative or positive, but always for the better. And it allows our institution to have an opportunity to take ownership, which a lot of times they need. With that little push, they can do really incredible things for public memory, like giving Autherine Lucy a historical marker on campus, albeit with a couple of really awkward phrases. Go read it if you haven't had a chance. It also gives us the ability to pressure them to take action. If you're tired of walking into buildings named after Klansmen and eugenicists, maybe you should think about the other spaces you walk into that you don't even know about. Confederate Memorial in front of Gorgas, which is just that kind of wonky looking rock. Maybe it doesn't have to be there. Maybe there are spaces that we don't talk about often enough that can be used better to tell a more important story, a more engaging story, a story that's more accurate or more true. But it all boils down to the fact that accurately discussing the past will enhance our present community. I encourage you all not to shy away from uncomfortable and important truths, and instead to do what's right and to be honest, even if that honesty negatively affects your institution. Thank you.